All right, we are live. All right, this is definitely I this is impromptu. So shout out everybody who's here impromptuly. Can it it is pretty late for most of the folks here, but what's going on everybody? It's your boy Open Mango, and tonight we have a very special abrupt live event. Talking about business, startup versus enterprise. Trying to make this a series at some point, but we have our first guest who's graciously joined us, Anon TCG. What's up, Anon?
What's going on, man? Happy to be here. When you first reached out, you wanted to talk about Dragon Ball Fusion World, which is a game that I only recently gotten into. But I will tell you, in the realm of games with IPs related to anime, this is the only one that I've ever watched. So I spent many a night getting home from late hockey games and turning on Toonami and having Dragon Ball Z on, and it was the one with Frieza. And then what's the pink fat thing?
Boo.
That one. Yeah. So yeah, I know a little bit about this one.
Dude, that you know what? That actually makes me pretty happy to hear because a lot of people will be like, "Yeah, I'm only this or that." Like, I've never watched Dragon Ball, which is kind of interesting because it's one of the biggest IPs in the world, and yet, from a card game and segue into the card game perspective, it's not at all talked about compared to like Pokemon, One Piece, or any of these other TCGs that are out there.
Yeah, and I always get crucified for this. I tried to watch One Piece, and I got like 5 minutes into it. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And then I tried to watch the Netflix one, which I'm sure is sacrilege. And like I got 20 minutes in, and I'm like, yeah, this kind of sucks. And then I just moved on. But yeah, Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, like, oh my god, it was probably 15 years ago now. That was cool. It was cool for sure.
Yeah, I like it's personally my favorite anime of all time. If you don't know about Yu Yu Hakusho, that's like number two. And funny enough,
Uh,
Bandai.
Sounds familiar, but yeah.
Oh, dude, you need to go watch it. It's on I think Hulu right now. If you have
I have a job, two businesses, a wife, and two kids. So unfortunately, anime
yeah, you're not
is
watching anything.
not in the cards. It's not in the cards. So
No, definitely not. And to all of you out there who don't know Anon, please do go check out his channel. I'll link his he should be tagged, but you'll have his channel in the description below, so make sure to check him out. Yeah, I wanted to have this conversation because I think a lot of people right now, it's a big market right now. Appetite is crazy for TCGs. And with Fusion World, and I'm gonna gear this one towards more Fusion World, but I'd definitely like to touch on a bunch of different topics and different TCGs. But and if y'all don't know, Anon is also a content creator, but also runs, as he said, two businesses, family, and everything. And he's doing this on a large scale. So someone like me who's doing more like startup-y type things versus more enterprise things like Anon, I think this would be a good sit down conversation about like, hey, if you're interested in this or if you're thinking about doing something like this, like what's the best way to approach it, what's the mentality you should go in with, and be sure to know about risks and potential payouts. So Anon, I appreciate you taking the time out to do this because dog, you are killing it right now.
yeah, look, we've been extremely fortunate. Obviously, you've had an LGS for a while that I'm involved in, not directly but indirectly, but really just pushing the online and the subscription model. Because look, at the end of the day, you can't really make a living just running an LGS. You need some semblance of online sales. So we really started pushing it. We were planning on 2023, and then had an issue. With the store, fire, whatever. So we really started in earnest in September of 2024 with Stellar Crown, and quite honestly, the timing was absolutely fantastic. It couldn't have gotten any better. So as the kids say, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. But we've just been expanding as quickly as we can. We have 2,500 people in Discord, 700 plus subs, and those guys just eat everything. It's a great group. It's a good chat room, especially when it comes to playability to a certain extent, but also just the business aspect. What's good, what's bad, what's coming out reprint wise, and it's certainly a good group just to kind of bounce ideas off of. So yeah, man, happy to be here. You know, it's, I'm a little bit outside of my comfort zone because I'm talking about a Bandai game I don't know that much about. So it makes it fun.
Yeah, and honestly, like yeah, full disclosure, I am a patron of Anon here. Though I was watching your content like well before um like I became a patron. I think it was like a month and a half ago at this point, but I've been watching for like over a year. I think you personally caught my attention when you got like somebody was calling like the information you provided like inaccurate, and then it turned out to be completely accurate. I forgot. Was that about a year ago, year and a half ago?
It happens all the time,
Yeah.
and sometimes you get information that's true, but people don't find out about it till months after the fact, and
Yeah.
then you just get crucified. But again, it's one of those things, and this isn't knocking anybody, but you need a microphone and a computer to be on YouTube. You don't need a resume. You don't need any backing or anything like that. And a lot of the folks that do entertainment, especially on PokeTube, they're just talking out of their ass, which is great. It's a hobby. They like to do it. You make a little bit of money off of it. And there's some drama channels, there's some investing channels. I just talk about the market, and that's part of the beauty of just being anonymous because I can talk freely and talk about what's coming, what's going, what my thoughts are, what's going on at distribution, what's going on with the games. So it's cool, and quite honestly, it's something that I don't think a lot of folks have access to. So it's like a little bit of a give back.
Yeah, most definitely. And one thing I will say, very helpful things in the Discord. Done like a lot of great people in there. Bought a lot of stuff from people in there. Just been reading some comments about like the tax information, LGS operations, and things like that. And it's very helpful. I think it's well worth the time and effort. And not only that, like yeah, 100%. Like with everything going on with all the entire not only Pokesphere but like the TCG sphere at this point, just like spouting stuff, right? So, getting a lot of the correct information is always valuable, and you provide a lot of that in my opinion. Just because like I watch a lot of that weekly distribution update content like every Sunday, bro. It's like religious, like it's good.
Those are my favorite to do because a lot of the stuff's just off the top of my head. And I try to talk to all my reps at least once a week, at least if they'll call me back. Some do, some don't. It's whatever. But it's important to know a lot of this shit, right? Because a lot of folks who don't have direct distribution access don't know they don't have access to the information, and some folks that do, it's kind of easy mode.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's something I value so much. That's why I watch a lot of that, especially like, so you started your Gundam like box sell through like video at one point, right? And that got me thinking about Fusion World. And I don't like I made a whole video on that where I was tracking like the sell through, and I was like, holy shit. Like when you talk about and I did it with like One Piece. Actually, can I pull it up? Let's see. I don't know if I think you'll be able to see my screen, right?
I cannot see it on. No, I can't see it anymore.
All right. Let me know if you can see it. Like the Excel, like Excel's just popping up.
No, no. I mean, there's nothing showing up on YouTube. So you're probably gonna have to reshare off the thumbnail.
No, it should be showing right now. Yeah, I see it. I see it on YouTube.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, now it popped up. No, you know what? The problem is when we're talking live, I hear
Yeah.
you real time, but
Oh, it's
YouTube's like 90
delayed. Yeah,
seconds. Yeah.
that makes sense. Um, but yeah, so you can see the screen now, right?
Yeah.
So one thing that like I was talking about earlier is like, and just to start off the conversation, I guess at this point, because you were meant like we were just talking about like your distribution updates, and then like the Gundam video you did. So like the box sell through rate here is what I have for like the manga boosters and like various sets from Fusion World, like Masters, OP, and like Pokemon a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
like these numbers are staggering. Just looking at them from like just hey, went to TCG Player within the past year. What does it look like? And it's crazy. Like what the fudge?
Yeah, no, no, for sure. And what's interesting about something like Fusion World and Dragon Ball Masters and One Piece when it went nuts is Bandai had continued to tighten the print runs, and Fusion World is print to demand. So if you order it, that's what they're going to print. Now they've gone away from that because the orders have gone batshit crazy, but you effectively have a game that had a super tight print run for FBO9, and then the demand for it when it came out was like 5 times what was ordered, and that's why you're seeing the box at $500 a box because there just wasn't enough made.
Yeah, that's
And just real quick, so one of the things with TCU player, over the years, I've tried to kind of ballpark how much of the total addressable market they have on there, because obviously a lot of stuff gets done privately, a lot of stuff on eBay, a lot of stuff done in local LGSs, But my best guess, it's somewhere around 2 to 4% of the total addressable market, and I would imagine for something like Future World, it might actually be a little bit higher, because if you have the product and you can't sell it locally, this is really the only place to go.
yeah. That is 100% correct. Because one thing that's kind of happened over like the existence of it, it's like I don't know if you were around when the game first came out, but like it was like the hottest thing since like One Piece, right? Like it was like supposed there's so much hype behind it, and then Bandai printed it to the ground. It was dead forever, comes back, and now is we are where we are because market's gonna market, right? Like and the shift in demand, like I understand it's gonna be a little bit lower because that early nobody was requesting it, and then now the market's like 5 times and wants 5 times that appetite. But it's like with that as well, and this is a conversation about liquidity later that I want to kind of see if you are
Sure.
seeing from your end. But before we dive into that, like because this is more of like I want it to be like a business informed content as well. Like can we take a step back and like I wanted to ask you like operationally how difficult is it to run the LGS, the online patrons, and like all that stuff? Because that's something I want to know. Like what's the level of effort? Because like I don't think people see that. So I just want to get that information from you.
Yeah, there's no way I could do all that and have a day job. It's too time consuming. So LGS wise, I do all the purchasing. They kind of tell me what they're looking for each game. We talk through what events we're going to run. They auto run the Magic events, the Pokemon events, but when it comes to Bandai games, we do have some discussions about that, and then that just kind of runs on its own. And you know, my one business partner, he manages that through kind of by himself, and then on the online piece, I manage all the Discord. I manage the 80 or so PMs I get a day. And a lot of times it's just like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Oh, my order hasn't shipped yet. And, where is it? And just all kinds of stuff like that, which is fine. But, you end up being glorified help desk or customer service, which is time consuming. Then I run all the sales. Again, I do all the purchasing. I pay attention to all the games, all the sets coming out, 8, 9, 10 months in the future. Make sure all the orders get in. Talk to distribution about reprints and information, just so we can make the best decision there. And then, obviously, the most important part of the business is just managing cash flow. You got to pay people, you got to pay distributors. Everything is pretty much, prepay at this point. So it's a lot. It's a lot, and one of the things that I kind of live by, and this is mostly on the Magic side because there's not a whole lot you can do to drive Bandai allocations up outside of organized play and time, and then the same with Pokemon. But with Magic, I want to be out of my comfort zone and pushing the envelope, and just make sure I never run out of money. So I'm constantly trying to schedule sales as releases are coming in and things like that, but also keeping in mind that $400,000 of The Hobbit coming in 2 weeks that I have to pay for. So just making sure that there's enough cash flow for that. Same with Pokemon 30th anniversary, same deal coming up. Those are the big hitters. Something like a One Piece allocation or Gundam or Dragon Ball. You're looking at 20, 30, 40, $50,000, which at this point, I hate to say it's a rounding error, but you're not getting thousands of boxes of those like you will be for Magic in Pokemon. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of headache. I also have to keep the Shopify site up to date. We run the Magic sales, the monthly Magic, so I have to get everything listed, get everything repriced. I have to send all the coupons out for the coupon engine for every single sale. And then the same with Pokemon. That's why Pokemon takes a little bit longer because it's a lot more SKUs to push up there. So it's I'm kind of up at 8, dropping kids off, do my day job, do some of this in between, and I normally get to bed at like 11:30. But a lot of it is it's fun because day job's fun. All the card stuff is super fun and super interesting, especially when everything's going your way, like it is now in the market.
Yeah.
Um, but it's super time consuming, and as long as you have enough scale and enough critical mass, you're gonna make more than enough money where you don't really have to worry about it, and you build a pretty large capital base. So when things swing, back to neutral or negative, um, you have more than enough capital to survive. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying it's a shit pile of work.
Yeah. No, but I think it's a very good synopsis of exactly what it takes to ensure like the business is successful, is able to stay afloat during even the like dead to flat times. Because I think in this kind of market with so many different people coming in, it's all they've really seen is up, or they haven't been through like maybe a cycle or two, um, and it skews perspective.
Yeah, and like I said, we really started this in earnest in August of 2024, and we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary. But we've been kind of doing the legwork really from probably the end of 2022 on. So the the initial business model was far different than what it is today. It was more of just seeing how much cost you could shave out of it if you're selling Pokemon or if you're buying Pokemon boxes at $90, and can you make $5 a box? So that was the initial mock-up of how to do this in scale. And you get to set 2, and all of a sudden the margins of the boxes are 70%. It's like, well, we can just throw away all the planning we've done for the last year because it doesn't matter now.
Yeah, that's a it's pretty accurate, man. Yeah, like one day I hope to transition to this at some point, like when things are a little bit more stable, you can build allocations better. I know we talked a little bit about that. Like right now, it's for newer LGSs or newer stores and anything like that. It's really difficult to build up those allocations to become a more sustainable business because there's just not enough product out there. And for that product, like what do you decide to carry, and what made you pick up Dragon Ball?
Yeah, so the challenge with building allocations, to your point, is you start at zero. Your spend is zero. You have to start ordering sets day one. So it's not like, you open your store on August 4th and on August 7th you get, $25,000 of The Hobbit. It doesn't work that way. You'll open your store on August 1st and you're hoping you can get into Reality Fracture, which is the September set. If not, you're waiting till November for Star Trek. So it is a rolling calendar. It's not like you're going to have stuff day one. With Bandai, you have to do organized play. If you do, if you register for their website, you do organized play. They will give you a minimum allocation for every single set. Now you have to run the events for it to continue, but they're going to give you 24 boxes, and maybe if you're lucky, you'll get 36 boxes because they just recently changed that. So you have some upside there. Yes, $25,000 for Dragon Shields gets you a case of The Hobbit. That is probably correct, and it's a play case. It won't be a collector case. Um, um, with Pokemon, you got no shot unless you register for organized play. And again, they'll get you 12 to 18 boxes. You start from zero, and there is nothing that you can buy from any distributor outside of Supplies at Southern that is gonna grow that allocation unless you have organized play. And you'll start building allocation by spending on Pokemon. But ultimately, you're going to be languishing with a couple cases per set for a long time. And then with Magic, Magic's a little bit of a different animal because you need to get WPN, which is their organized play. You'll get a minimum allocation for that. But there is Magic that is on the shelf. So if you have enough capital, you can drop 10, 20, $50,000 on stuff that is going to sit for 3, 4, 5 months. It's going to age when it dries up from distribution. The price goes up on every Magic product ever. And it's no different than Pokemon, only it's actually happening a little bit faster now because the price of Pokemon's so high at release. And Magic is the one game where you can build allocations relatively quickly. But again, you need to have a deep enough capital base to where you can afford to go without that $50,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 for at least 6 months until it moves up to the point where you can make a reasonable amount of profit. Uh, so I don't remember the second part of your question. So if you want to ask that again.
Yeah. No, it's like just like that, right? Like building the allocations, you have to do regardless. Like you have to pick up everything you can whenever you can. It's hard, especially when and organized plays become such a core tenet, like way more strict now than it was say like 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? Because just the demand is that large. And you alluded to some Bandai games doing that. So like for Dragon Ball, like what made you pick that up, and how are you managing that and increasing the allocations of that?
So, so in 2025, I was at Gamma. If for those of you who don't know what Gamma is, it's an industry organization, and it's like game association. It's basically game manufacturers, right? So you have the game manufacturers that are there, and then you have the wholesale buyers, yeah, LGS's distribution, etc. So I sat through the whole Bandai thing, and obviously was interested to see what was going on with One Piece, and wanted to see what was going on with Gundam because this was probably 3, 4 months before the New Type Rising came out, and they had talked about Fusion World and Dragon Ball Masters, and I thought at the time they said they were going to merge the two games into one. Maybe I misheard that at some point, but I didn't really think anything about it. And when you're building your capital base, you wanna focus on your bigger opportunities, which is obviously Pokemon and Magic and One Piece. And then Gundam has been a huge opportunity, but the ability to flip boxes for a huge profit at release hasn't been there, at least not yet.
Yeah.
So fast forward to Gamma 2026, which was I think the first week of March this year. I'm sitting there going through the Bandai thing, and one of the folks, I don't know if it was one of the folks in Discord that I met there, or somebody else that I knew, is like, "Hey, do you see what's going on with Dragon Ball?" And I'm like, "No, I don't pay attention to that shit. I don't care." Like, well, apparently they just released it's either a new season of the anime or a spin-off, whatever. I don't even know the details. And he's like, the boxes are going crazy. And March of 2026 was kind of when One Piece was popping off, and there was just speculation dollars all over the place. So I started looking at it, and the boxes were all like $200, $300, literally within 24 hours. And I went on one of my distributors' websites. They had what is it, Ultra Limit FBO4 for open order, and I think the box price was like $65. They were actually marked down, so we bought a bunch of it. It was something we sold into Discord. I think we sold it for like $100 or something like that.
Nice.
And I kind of expected it to run up and then kind of fall off a cliff in like 2 weeks, right? And it just kept running. So this was right after, I think it was FBO 8 had just come out.
Correct.
So I went on and I placed a bunch of orders, and I was too late for FBO 9. So even though we placed orders, we didn't get anything, and we didn't have anything scheduled for organized play. So we ended up placing orders for FB 10, and we got 36 boxes, which was great. Because we shouldn't have gotten anything. We placed the order after the fact, and kudos to distribution for hooking us up. So FB 11, which I think comes out, is that October, September?
I think it's October.
October. So that's the first set that we were able to order at that point in time, in in the normal Bandai time frame to place the order on time. So it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot more of that product out there. But getting back to it, had spent a bunch of time talking to the different folks at Bandai, and they had the team in from Japan, and it's literally a 35-year-old dude who runs each one of the games. So I talked to everybody, and the biggest concern with Bandai historically is they overprint shit. They destroy their games. They almost destroyed One Piece by reprinting the early sets, and it was kind of like, do I want to? And, you know, through their presentation and talk to the guys one-on-one, they're like, no, we're not going to reprint anymore. We've learned our lesson. We want this to be collectible. And now, obviously, there's going to be cheap cards in there, and people can play with the cheap cards in the set, like with One Piece, but we need collectability. We understand that there has to be value, and the collectors, investors have to back the game, or we don't have a game, which, yeah, it was kind of music to my ears. And yeah, I'd actually talked to the guy, and I forget his name, who was running Gundam, and I'm like, hey, you guys done reprinting GDO1? Or are you going to go back? He's like, no, we're done. We're done reprinting GDO1, and we're done printing GDO2. And this was right when set 3 had come out. I think set 3 was January. Uh,
I don't follow
so
Gundam
the
like that, so I can't tell you.
Yeah. So they're like, no, it's going to be wave 1, wave 2, and then it's done. We're not reprinting again. We've learned our lesson, etc. So I'm like, huh, well, shit. So, you know, Dragon Ball is something that I was familiar with. We got all the organized play set up, and we've been in the Bandai plus, TCG Plus place for a while. We just didn't run it. So we started running organized play for FB10, and I think we run an event every other week. And all of a sudden, people started showing up. They started showing up for One Piece. They started showing up for Fusion World. They started showing up for Masters. They started showing up for Union Arena, which is a game that was dead for the longest time. So it was one of those situations where the stars kind of aligned, and then I was able to get comfortable in talking with the Bandai folks, where it's like, okay, you know, it's not a huge investment because the allocations are going to be kind of crappy to start, but let's do it, you know. And my biggest fear was 2 months after everything boomed, it would fall back to you know where it was before, and it didn't happen. So it's been interesting, and the one thing I don't think I appreciated was the price support that Bandai gives for Fusion World is like second to none. So they give promos for, I think it's top three, but the event winner for pre-release, those promos run like $500. So we have people coming in and playing because they're chasing like a $500 card that costs us absolutely nothing, which is phenomenal. And I know when we were talking before this, you had mentioned that, yeah, you'd won a couple events and they were like $50, $60 cards, and now they're pushing like $500. But I hate to say it sells itself, but when you're able to give price support that has that value, it kind of sells itself.
Yeah,
So that's kind of how we got into it. And then, yeah, spend some more time looking, you know, storyboard set coming up or whatever. It's just Bandai keeps putting out good product after good product. I think they've learned their lesson with One Piece. They know they can't reprint shit. The market has really started to trust what they're doing. You know, there's not a whole lot of people that aren't confident with them, and you know, they've made the change they've had to. You know, you look at Union Arena, they put a set out every month, but Union Arena was a backpack seller game that wasn't brick and mortar restricted for the longest time, and people would buy it and they would just dump the shit, and it would always be at or below distribution price outside of a handful of IPs. So they had gone, when they announced this at Gamma, they had announced that they are going to brick and mortar restricted. I forget, it was one of the recent sets. It
solo
may have
leveling.
been no. Solo leveling was still backpack seller. That just went nuts because the demand skyrocketed, and that was a huge IP. I think it was 100 Girlfriends, which is just coming out now. Chainsaw Man certainly is. So now you have all of the. It's weird when I call the LGS owners with brick and mortar the adults in the room, because that's never the case. But compared to the backpack buyers, the online accounts that could buy this stuff, and they just fire sold everything, it destroys. It just, I guess the right term is it erodes the value of the product, because even if it's a good IP, it's a race to zero, because these guys, they have no skin in the game. They're not running organized play. Yeah, they don't give a shit. They're buying it basically for a lottery ticket to hope they can flip it, and if they can't, they just dump it, and it was crushing the game. So Bandai has made all of these changes, and they've now basically identified the playbook, which they're running on every single one of their games, to make it work. You know, if you look at Gundam, the chase cards and all the sets are $1,000 plus. You know, no different with One Piece. You know, the chase cards in most of the sets are $1, $2, $3,000. You're seeing the same thing with Dragon Ball. Union Arena, they've started inserting serialized cards and on-card autographs. Those cards are selling for $1,000 plus. So they're taking the template that they've learned with One Piece. They've taken all of the past sins and kind of thrown them out the window, and they're doing things the right way. And what's interesting, and you see it with Magic. So, Magic's owned by a public company. They live quarter to quarter. The Japanese culture, I mean, they're planning this shit out for the next 3, 5, 10 years, and they don't need to make money today. Uh, that's going to impact the business in 2 years. And they don't make decisions like us stupid Americans do, which is it's fascinating to see, and I think they're doing a nice job.
Yeah, like if you've been in the TCG space for at least 2 3 years, you can see the practices completely changed between how they were running it and how they are running it. I think like I mentioned earlier for Fusion World, right? Like, and even like Masters, they completely killed off for like the longest time. They really got. I think it was an overprinting issue, right? Like demand was just not there. They came out with a new game that was supposed to be hype, and they literally flooded set 1 and 2. Set 3 and 4 were printed to high heaven, and then like I think this was around that time, end of 2024, beginning of 2025, where I guess there was a new type of management in place where there was maybe like a younger crowd that finally understood that like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
we don't print everything to the ground and like erode all the value in all of our TCGs and instead support them in such a way that not only through the event pricing but like actually put marketing and upgrading the cards themselves. Like, if have you looked at some Fusion World cards and seen how like how dope they look in person?
Oh, they're absolutely amazing. I mean, again, when I was at Gamma this year, they had all these displays, and they were just showing off the quality of the cards, and they're phenomenal. I mean, they rival Gundam cards, and quite honestly, they're nicer than One Piece cards. But yeah, the cards are absolutely phenomenal.
Dude,
The quality is great.
exactly. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that, but like like this honestly came out of nowhere in the sense of like no demand, and then immediately when product went scarce, like even the players were having a hard time finding it because like what I noticed immediately after set 6 released was that like a lot of stores didn't even get either FBO6 or they
Well, they
got a
didn't
very
order it.
limited amount.
No, they didn't order it because everybody got their face ripped off for FBO4 because it was so overprinted. So stores didn't order it. So nobody has ever gotten cut, to my knowledge, because it's print to demand.
Right.
So with the amount of product declining really up through FB10, it was the fact that stores didn't order it because they didn't have confidence in the product.
Right. And when that changed, like it just you could see boxes like I was watching the boxes stabilize. Like I noticed like, hey, boxes are not like, and this is like mid 2025, right? Like did boxes were not going down to like the 60s or 40s or 50s. Like it was kind of like, well, okay, whoa, what happened here? And then like by FBO7, bro, prices were at like $75 and up. Like they would not hit below, like they would hit that distribution cost. And I was like, here's a floor. This is clear signs of a tightening of print run, right? And then just we're seeing that kind of play out today to a whole different degree. And like that's another question I wanted to kind of ask. And we had talked about it a little bit regarding specifically the manga booster, but like what do you think the print run of these earlier sets were? Like 40, 50, 60, 100,000 boxes?
Um, probably six digits, quite honestly. So when you and I talked about FB10, what did I tell you my estimated print run was? Because I don't remember. I
I
thought
think
it was like 50K,
yeah,
right?
about 50,000 or so, something like that.
Right, right. So initially, I believe it was only GTS and Alliance, who's now Universal, carried the game. Now PhD and Southern are carrying them as well. But the reason they're carrying them is Bandai's trying to expand their organized play. They're trying to provide options to folks that don't have a distributor that carried the game in the past. I think what they're finding out is anybody who wanted to carry Bandai games found out a way to get GTS or Alliance slash Universal. So I think they already have access to it. So adding those two new distributors is not going to have nearly the impact with additional product is what I certainly had thought, and I think most people had thought. But yeah, I think about 50,000 boxes is was my back of the napkin math, and just kind of probing for data.
Yeah. So that would be just for like the recent sets after like the complete destruction of the product. But like prior to that,
Yeah.
would you say it was like maybe six digits?
Yeah, I mean, you go back to FBO4. I mean, they may have printed 150,000 boxes. Um, because again, so you have to remember, Bandai is a public company in Japan, so they do have earnings targets and things like that that they have to hit.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think up until early 2025, maybe even mid 2025. I don't even remember when the massive One Piece reprint was. It may have been the end of 2024. I just think they were undisciplined because they were trying to hit numbers and do whatever. And I think the folks that were undisciplined are no longer there, and now they're doing what they need to do, which quite honestly is what Wizards of the Coast needs to be doing, as opposed to
Yeah.
figuring out how to sell more to micro penis and repackage collector boosters into a new SKU and cram more down everybody's throat. Um, so they're definitely doing it right.
Yeah. That pivot is definitely like bad, like s- s- needed, and it's worked out very well. Their games are more in demand than they've ever been. Like, I've been with like I've been collecting and buying Dragon Ball since like 2020. So like
Wow,
coming
you
from
just
an
got paid.
I mean, unintentionally, right? I was doing it for the love of the game, and it just kind of ended up working
Yeah,
out, right?
yeah, no, for sure, for
Yeah, and
sure.
but like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, like, I don't foresee us going back to that kind of an era just because the current like climate we're in. But like, do you think there's a potential chance of this finally, like, I guess, quote unquote, bull run or like mooning or whatever? Like, it is summer slowdown, but is it really slowdown? That's also another thing. It's like, do you see
I
potential
mean, look,
downturns?
summer's always slow. So it kind of is what it is. Yeah, I look at the behavior of Bandai and how much it's changed. We just talked about Union Arena. The
Yeah.
new boxes are coming out. And again, those boxes are like 45 to $50 from distribution. Um, those boxes are selling for $100 plus at release, and they're not going under $100 on average for the new sets. Now, you look at Digimon. For those of you who don't pay attention to Digimon, and this is really for you, Mason, that last set sold for $120 a box. That's another $40, $50 box
I
from
have choice
distribution.
words for Mason too. I tried to sell him some
Uh,
Pokemon at like 75, 80% market. He rejected me multiple times. But anyway, um,
don't be such a pig. He's got to make money too. He's just trying to feed his kids. I don't know if he has kids. I just used the Latrell Sprewell quote from like
no,
30
I
years
was
ago.
taking a
Probably,
haircut at that
probably back while
percentage.
he was on Toonami.
Yeah, well, dude, yeah, like that. They have changed their policy and their printing practices, and I'm like, if this sustains, like, and there's finally stability in some markets, like, is it time to feast? Is it time to just buy the crap out of everything?
So I think when you look at Bandai products at this point, if you want to own it, you almost have to buy it at release or when the second wave comes in, because when things dry up, and I'll use OP14 because this
Yeah,
one took a while. I'll use OP14 as an example. So it obviously came after the hottest set of all time up until this point. OP13, the whatever that was, third anniversary set. Um, OP13 came out, and the sell through on TCG Player was normal to plus plus. But the boxes were sitting at $220 forever because you have Devastation Games importing all of fucking Latin America and dumping it on TCG Player. And you had a lot of stores that got their wave one and their wave two. But now that it's dried up, the boxes are pushing 275, and things move up. And that's how this movie works with Bandai. It's going to work the same with Gundam. We have the anniversary set coming out. The first wave is pretty
beautiful.
tight. The boxes are pre-selling for 175. Again, it's a $75 box from distribution, roughly. When the second wave comes, the boxes are probably going to push 100, 110, 120 because all the broke ass Timmy stores are going to try to flip it, make a couple bucks, get their cash back, and move on. And that's really the time to buy if you want to own the product long term because it's your floor, It's when the maximum amount of product is out there, and things work. One piece boxes are all going to $300-400. It's a matter of time. You're probably looking at the same with Dragon Ball. Again, with the caveat saying, assuming people give a shit about the IP in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, because that's really the bet you're making. Because if they care, the game's going to continue to be where it's at. It's going to survive. It's going to be hot, and older products are going to go up. Um, and then go from there. Yeah, Digimon. I don't know shit about Digimon. Quite honestly,
I
I
I can
I just
safely
started
tell you
dabbling in
it's
that.
good.
It's good.
Like I played the game for the first like 10, 15 or 10, 12 sets. And like once it got like the mechanics got a little more complicated, it was kind of over my head, but I always collected boxes. And I would open a box here and there, and the art on those are so sick. And funny enough, I actually have a video out that I pre-recorded that I'm opening a box of one of the new Digimon sets, and bro, like I've always said, those arts are super sick and very underrated, and it's just been like in the lull for like the longest time. But I didn't even know the new boxes were selling for like 120.
Because Bandai is following the playbook for all of their games. There are no games that they're running right now that are garbage. Everything is above distribution price at release. And the crazy thing is, and uh, I don't know if you've paid any attention to Yu-Gi-Oh! The last two sets are still above distro price for the first time in like 2 months. Um, so it doesn't matter if the only reason is whatever. It's still $120.
Yeah,
Matter. Only the scoreboard counts. I'm just reading one of the guys from Discord making the comment on Digimon. I've ordered the next couple sets, so we'll see how it does. My luck's been good so far, so hopefully I don't get my face ripped off. But yeah, I mean Bandai's running the same thing, but with
yeah.
with Yu-Gi-Oh, they're coming out
Magnificent
with
Monsters.
yeah, serialized cards for the first time in English,
I'm gonna need a few
and
boxes.
dude, I've had a bunch of people send me eBay listings of the Japanese cards selling for 30, 40, $50,000,
Yeah,
which is absolutely nuts. If these cards are worth a fraction of that, boxes are going to sell for $100 to $200, and things are probably going to move up over time because they're going to get shredded. So it looks like Konami's making changes there. You know, 2 sets isn't a trend, 3 sets isn't a trend, especially when the third set's especially set. But, everything is moving in the right direction except for Flesh and Blood, which is still a flaming bag of dog shit.
yeah. I know nothing about that game. I know some of the local people like it, but as far as like games, like yeah, I just don't. I don't do that. And yeah, Konami, like to be honest, like if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh, like if you carry Yu-Gi-Oh, it's just been box on release
Yeah.
like half the distro price, or like especially if
Yeah.
it's like a Battles of Legends set. I think those hit like dirt cheap price.
Look, I'm just paying attention to this stuff from afar because people are tightening thing up. And look, I have love for Konami because they made Contra and Super Contra. Just saying, because I'm that old.
Um, there, yeah, like I think it's just not a place. Like the stability is good. The summer is slow, but like, yeah, you're right. Everything is just lower than expectations, but like everything is still above MSRP, right?
Well,
And that in itself is crazy.
and you see all these fucking idiot Poketubers. They're like, "Oh, is the sky falling? Is a bubble popping?" And it's like, the box is $180. Your distro cost is like $100. What the fuck are we even talking about here? Because these idiots, they can't fucking buy it and then flip it 3 days later and make 40%. And it's like, dude, 80% on a booster box? Anybody who's ever run a store would kill for that on a consistent basis. That is like fuck you money when it comes to the TCG space. Now everybody's spoiled because Pokemon has been a money printer for a while. So
Yeah.
making a little bit less money, it's not like all of a sudden the box are selling for $120 and you're making, $10 plus shipping. It's idiotic. And again, I get back to the fact that, all you need is a microphone and a computer. Make YouTube videos. And that is pretty much the only resume that most of these PokeTubers have. They're speaking from the heart. We'll just leave it at that.
Everyone's entitled to their perspective. You gotta talk your stuff, and hopefully, you know, people listen to either you or do whatever they want, right? Like that's the beauty of free will. Do whatever the you want, like live
Dude,
your life.
I don't want anybody to listen to me. That's why I'm the worst content creator ever. I don't edit shit. It's just literally
True.
Excel or TCG player because I don't want folks that are coming here for entertainment in the Discord because those are the broke ass Timmies that are gonna fuck things up. I want people that are actually have a moderate level of sophistication and they're like, okay, well, it's data. That's interesting to me because you get a little bit of a higher level of clientele. And
Yeah.
that's really the reason why I don't have the time or the patience to edit, and B, you edit it, you make it look cool, and all of a sudden, you have 40,000 you have 40,000 subs on YouTube, and they're all there for entertainment. Like, yeah, I don't give a shit about that. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to run a business and help everybody make money and make sure there's enough meat on the bone and people can get product and move on to the next set.
What do you what do you think would take to have like a like I guess a more significant retrace down to like I guess more stable levels of pricing because a set coming out on release being like double MSRP or whatever is that sustainable, or is that just like a clear indication to the company just raise the minimum price and just let's make more money on the company's end as opposed to the end consumer?
So I think it depends, right? Again, Pokemon is a Japanese company. They're looking at things in 3-year blocks at a minimum. They're looking at generations. So they understand there's ebb and flow. There's bull markets, there's bear markets. So they don't want to raise MSRP too often because it pisses people off. And they can point to botters or scalpers or GameStop and everybody who's the problem. But the second they raise MSRP, now they're the fucking problem, right? Because they're making it more expensive for everybody else in a world where the game is already super, super expensive. So, while I think when Wind and Waves comes out in 2028, they're probably going to raise MSRP and they should. Um, I think if you're the game manufacturer, there's a little bit of moral hazard here where there's just a ton of profit. Somebody's going to take the profit and it can't be them. It's either going to be distribution, it's going to be somebody buying from Walmart, it's going to be an LGS, any of the above, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And quite honestly, there's so much money sloshing around here because people have made so much fucking money off One Piece and Pokemon and Dragon Ball and whatever. I mean, Magic set and draft boxes are all up, 100, 200% over the last couple of years. There's so much money in this space that's just going to get plowed back into the space. I just don't see a world where the entire industry goes into a bear market. And you can talk about the world ending or this diarrhea fucking parasite or whatever it is. I just
Cyclospore.
don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah, I would. I'd be in line with that. I'm just like like every company kind of like if your product is higher in demand, like as a company, your bottom line needs to be met, right? And at the end of the day, you have to at some point become the bad guy because I think right after Sword and Shield ended, at least for Pokemon, right? Like they increased the MSRP going into Scarlet and Violet, right? So, and I don't think they had done that in like 10 years or something.
Well,
So,
that management team is no longer at Pokemon, so they all got fired. So just so you know.
okay, did not know that, but that's interesting. Um,
The management team that overprinted Sword and Shield and the first part of Scarlet Violet, they're all no longer there, which is why we're seeing the type print runs that we're seeing.
yeah, and yeah, they've deliberately at this point gone away from booster box reprinting. They just like focusing on the ancillary products, which is kind of I don't know. I feel like I mean honestly, I think they did a good job with it, at least from the Pokemon side, just because um, I think they've printed enough booster boxes at least for the last two sets, right? Like Emmy, like Chaos Rising and Perfect Order, because the like people called it, people think it's lackluster sets, and I think our box is down to like 180 now, which is kind of crazy to say that they're only like $20 above MSRP.
Well, but remember, distribution cost is $100.
Yeah.
Look, there were about 850,000 booster boxes printed of Pitch Black once a second wave comes in and Chaos Rising. 850,000 booster boxes is a lot of fucking booster boxes. In my opinion, the reason why they're printing so many ancillary products is they've made a strategic decision a year ago to push as much product as they can through big box stores to try to make it as available as possible. Now, where they failed is I think they grossly underestimated the ability of Target and Walmart to give a fuck about botters, because at the end of the day, they only care about the sale.
Yeah.
And it's failing because everybody's buying their product, it's getting scalped, and it's not getting to the folks that they intended it to get to because it's never on the shelves. Now, we are seeing it for Perfect Order, we're seeing it for Chaos Rising, we're seeing it for Pitch Black. But again, are these sets weak because they wanted to amp up the hype for 30th anniversary? Are they weak because they just didn't have a whole lot of time to plan English sets of size and they just said, fuck it, we're gonna mirror the Japanese sets? I have no idea. But any of these new boxes, sub $180, it's a screaming buy because they're not going to reprint them anytime soon, if at all. Especially on the booster box side, because they're this is your Paradox Rift, your Temporal Forces, and your Stellar Crown of Mega.
Yeah. No, this is like an opportunity. Like it's a screaming opportunity, and like if you were comfortable buying at like $200 MSRP or like about like at I don't know, that's not even MSRP, but like if you're comfortable buying at 200, you should definitely be comfortable buying at like 180. And if this trend continues, and like I think there's been a lot of conversation about just money just flowing into like the 30th, which egregiously it feels like it is, but at the same time I think smart money's going for like longer returns of I mean, I like if you're gonna hold on to something long term, sure, like go with the 30th or even these other boxes, but like, yeah, I think time is what you just need. It doesn't matter what it is, just buy something time, right? Like if you don't care, like if you're running a business, that's a whole different thing. But like if you're like just collecting,
let's look at this from a practical perspective, right? I mean, if the three, let's call them the week's regular sets are $200 a box. You're going to buy Ascended Heroes, you're going to save your money for 30th anniversary before you buy and you rip those packs. Or, you rip 20 packs and you get the hits in there because the hits aren't super hard to get. It's not rocket science as to why the sets are weaker. And then, these guys had the genius move of dropping Wave 2 of Chaos Rising and Perfect Order at the same time, and Wave 2 of Pitch Black bundles and ETBs at the same time. And I'm sure we're going to get booster boxes soon because they're going to want to clear the deck so they can hammer the spoilers for 30th anniversary. Now, I know some of the stuff is spoiled. It's not all spoiled yet. So it's kind of the perfect storm, and it's also the middle of summer. So the fact that these boxes are still at $180 is about as bullish as it gets. Quite honestly, the boxes, I wouldn't have been shocked to see them get smashed down to 140.
Yeah. No,
I see a comment. It's like, yeah, so when some ass poll says there's 60% chance the bull market's over for Pokemon, I assure you the bull market is nowhere close to being over for Pokemon, because we're going to get 30th anniversary, and we're going to get the Mega Rayquaza set, which is going to be a fucking banger, and we're going to get the Mega Lucario set, and then we're going to get 7.5, which is coming out. I don't know what it is yet, but that's going to probably come out February or March. My guess is the 7.5 set is going to be end of March, early April, and Mega 7, which is the Mega Lucario set, is going to be late January, early February. So I think they're going to flip-flop those sets. And let's not forget, with Pitch Black being released in July, you have a 5-month window before the Mega Rayquaza set comes out to print the shit out of that. So you only had 3 months or 2.5 months for the last two sets. Now, all of a sudden, you have a lot of time. So I could see the Mega Rayquaza set having more supply, or they're going to use that to continue to reprint other sets. And then, after 7.5, we still have a Mega X Mega trademark. So there's going to be a Mega Tag Team set. Like, nothing's going to slow this market down at this point. I'm just telling you.
Dude,
Nothing
mega
is going
tag
to
teams will go
persist.
so hard. I don't know if the
Yes.
market can handle that.
Yes.
That yeah.
So
Yeah, I
just my opinion. And look, all of a sudden, Magic boxes are going nuts too. Even the play boxes. So
do collector boxes. I've been monitoring that shit for like 5 years. It is insane what's happened in the Magic space over the past like literally like 5 months. Like
because because look at the entry points for the games we're talking about here. One Piece is sky high. Dragon Ball sky high, Pokemon sky high. You can still get a reasonable entry point on Magic products, especially play boxes, but even collector boxes. I mean, Aether Drift 6 months ago was still $210. Now it's pushing 300. You could get at a reasonable entry point where you're not buying it at double what retail was, or even double what distro price was. So there's a lot of smart money really dumpster diving. And that's not to say it's shitty products. It's just the entry point is infinitely
easier.
more. Well, I don't want to say it's easier, but there's less downside and more upside than what there is in those other games.
Yeah, there's a lesser barrier to entry there because it's more accessible compared to everything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's comment in chat now. Even Lorcana's going nuts.
Yeah, that one like
Wild
popped
is
off out of nowhere.
$220. Yeah, Attack of the Vine is going nuts. What is it? Whispers in the Well, Winter Spell are going nuts. Everything post Fable's going nuts, and even what is it? Shimmer, whatever the fuck that one is, and Jafar
Shimmering
are doing
Skies and
well.
Jafar, yeah.
Yeah, and then Arcasi's Island and whatever the other. Those are kind of shitty sets, but it's not set three. What is it? Ursula set, which was overprinted to high hell. I mean, that shit's great too. Yeah, Marvel Jumpstart dumpster diving, allocated everywhere, distribution, and there's no more of it. So Marvel Jumpstart has about a $330 expected value. It was short shipped to distribution at release, and they just came with a second wave, and the boxes were $98, $99 from distribution. Boxes are selling for 160, 170 on TCG Player with an expected value if you break it and sell the singles of 330. That doesn't happen in any other game except for Magic. So that's why there's a lot of dollars going there. There's so much money sloshing around because everybody's made so much fucking money off these games in the last 2 years. Now, it's not leaving TCGs. People love it. They love the gamble. They love to keep it in here. I mean, it's fun. Those dollars are going back into this.
Yeah, I definitely agree that the amount of money that's just like exponentially grown over the past like 3-4 years, say mid 2024 or early 2024, is just insane, absolutely
Yeah.
insane. And like
And
you picking
it's
up these
organic
games
too.
like right at that point was like just perfect timing because like One Piece was
pure
down, like
It was pure
everything
bull.
was.
Yeah. But again, remember, this was all organic.
Yeah,
With everything ramping up, it wasn't like you had COVID where you had all the stimmy checks and everybody was sitting inside. They couldn't spend their money anywhere else. So it's like, yeah, let me buy some fucking Pokemon cards. This is all organic. This is a completely different situation than what we saw with COVID. And I know a lot of people like to compare it. They're not comparable in any way, shape, or form. They're just not.
yeah, no, this is definitely it seems way more organic just simply because when it comes to like, so I go to a lot of locals and I do play games, and like I mentioned earlier to you, like I do win some tournaments here and there. Like I won some ultimate battles, and that's the one of the events I believe you probably recently held that has like that Super Saiyan 3 Goku winner card for ultimate battles that's going for like $500, $600, actually maybe even $900 at this point. And there's some other Goku ones, but like yeah, like there are so many people playing the games at these stores. It's kind of crazy. Like I feel like from when I started playing games back like more in like 2023, 2022 time frame till now, like it just seems like the scene has just exploded amongst all the TCGs. Most of all, like Riftbound and Gundam, with Fusion World actually growing and very like in my area and different pockets of the country. It's kind of interesting.
And I think one of the things Alter didn't work out. Yeah, that's because they tried to make all the cards electronic and had no value because they were stupid. I think one of the things that's also underappreciated is, yeah, in this current Pokemon bull market, there's a lot of smart money that's come into the space where they can do the math that, hey, the returns on Pokemon holding sealed product over the long term, every single box is up in the history of the game. The returns are far superior to anything you see anywhere else. So I think there's just a lot of investor money coming into the space, really everywhere except for Flesh and Blood, that they're just piling into these games. They're buying sealed and they're sitting on it. I mean, look at Rift on Origins. Look at the number of boxes that have sold on TCG players, like north of 10,000 boxes. So it's almost twice what a normal Bandai or a normal One Piece set does in volume on TCG
Yeah, it's like
Player.
10x from Fusion World.
And they just keep printing we're getting another fucking reprint of it in a couple weeks. They just keep hitting the print button and it gets smashed down to 180 and people buy it and they're just putting the cases away. I'm scared shitless that they're just going to print it to the point where people don't give a fuck. Like people don't want to buy it because they have no faith that Riot or UVS are going to stop printing.
Yeah, I have heard from you and just like the ether of like just a lot of people getting hammered with nothing but product. But it's kind of interesting that like I still see local players asking for it and local people asking for it, and like it sells slowly, but it's still getting out. Like that's surprising. Like and obviously you said investors coming in and like putting it away, but it's like how much can you put away if it's like 10,000 boxes and the game just is not even a year old or just about a year old?
Um, that's the beauty of smaller print runs. Now, obviously, the print run's growing there. Is you can control the market. When reprints of collector box of commander displays for Magic come out, if you have deep enough pockets, you can put away a significant enough part of the print run, where you can control the market after it dries up in a couple months. Like those are all things that smart money likes to do. You want to control the market, so
Yeah, definitely way bigger players than I can comprehend for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, for sure. Let's talk about Pal World for a second because I always forget to talk about this in my distro update,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize this. So yeah, I had to order Pal World 6-7 months ago, I think. Um, I mean, it's still on open order, but it's a Bushi Road game, and if you know anything about Bushi, they're like the redheaded stepchild of Bandai, right? It's a little bit different. They're a little bit greedier. But I didn't realize Pal World just came out with their 1.0 game, and it is the second most downloaded game on Steam. And I think I saw like 850,000 uh, concurrent players. So that coming out and the card game coming out at the end of the month could be the perfect storm for that thing to go nuts. Flipside was selling the boxes for 45 bucks, which is dirt cheap. I think they're like 33, 34 from distro. And they've sold 200 and some cases. They're 12 box cases and like 1,200 individual boxes. And it's selling like a couple hundred boxes a day, which is interesting. So I think Power World could do something. And um every now and then I do pay attention to a couple channels that just talk about gameplay, and there's a channel, Red Zone Rogue. He does a lot of indie games, and normally it's just shit I don't care about. But he's like a gameplay snob, right? So he's gonna shit all over it immediately. Or with Pal World, he's like, I thought it was gonna be garbage. I actually really enjoy the gameplay. And then I turned the video off. That was like 5 minutes in because I really didn't care about the rest. But if your gameplay snobs really enjoy the gameplay, the IP's going nuts. And look, Pokemon with guns is going to be super controversial, so people are going to buy it anyway. The game could be a banger. It really could be. So, I'm happy sitting on a bunch of cases, and we'll sell it into the Discord when it comes out. But I think it's cool.
Like so I've watched a lot of Pal World like gameplay. I didn't know they released the 1.0, so that's insane to see that like there's that much. So that's similar to like Riftbound. There's such a big like following for League of Legends, right? And Riftbound kind of like feeds off of that. I don't I like if that happens, like could we see print runs for Pal World do the same things as Riftbound?
So I think with Pal World, they just made an announcement that they just sold their like 3.5 millionth pack, which is a little terrifying to me. Now they're smaller boxes, right? So Bushi does 12 box, like 12 or pack mini boxes. But that's like 292,000 boxes. I hope that's all languages, because if there's 292,000 boxes coming to the US, that is a fucking assload of product for a first edition game.
Yeah.
Even though they're small, uh, that is a little scary. But just watching the sell through on eBay and just seeing all the anecdotal evidence of how hot the IP is right now, it's really really encouraging, because a lot of this stuff I have to buy 5 6 months ahead of time, and I'm totally blind. I mean, I bought a lot of Caillou product, like K-pop Demon Hunters and Naruto and stuff. And when I had to place an order, they didn't even have like a mock-up of the picture or any information on the set. It's like, hey, it's $32. How many do you want? I'm like, well, what's it about? We're like, we don't fucking know, but I need your order today. And it's like, okay, great. That's fun.
That, yeah, I mean, it must be really hard to keep track of everything like that, because if you're like, because you're carrying a crap ton of TCGs, and like deadlines, due dates amongst every company is like different, and for every set, right? And like,
And across seven distributors.
yeah, and across 7 distributors, like that is a lot to manage. Like, I know that me making deals with like people, I sometimes have very difficult time like keeping everything together. Like sometimes I'm delayed, and I'm like, if I miss the window, like I'm kind of gone, right? So like, yeah, you having to manage that and making sure you get everything in, like, could you like imagine if you don't do that for like a Pokemon, a One Piece, a Fusion World, a Magic? Like you could, well, I guess Magic is more
I,
open, but like these other
I,
TCGs,
I'm
like,
I'm gonna tell you a story. So for the longest time, I just call reps up and be like, hey, can you put this order in? And everything was cool. And then my WPN rep, I called him up with Final Fantasy Holiday with Chocobo bundles. And I'm like, hey, I don't see an allocation here. We talked about the order. And he's like, you didn't place an order. I said, we fucking order everything, asshole. Of course we placed an order. You and I talked about it. He's like, no, you told me specifically this was going to be a crappy product. I'm like, I tell you every fucking WotC product's going to be garbage. It doesn't mean I don't want to buy it. Like, I almost killed him. He never placed my fucking order. So I got 0 Chocobo bundles from my WPN vendor because my fucking asshole rep never placed the order. So now I place every single fucking order on the website. Now, a lot of times I'll do it when I'm on the phone with the rep, but I'm not letting that shit happen ever again, because these guys have 140, 150 accounts. Now, I'd like to think my account's special, but it's not. They have to provide service to all of their folks. And you know, look, our spend is more than the majority, if not all of the accounts, which is cool. But at the end of the day, I don't want to rely on a rep to put my order in. And, I was mad, not because my rep fucked up, because I didn't bother following up and placing the order online. And again, it did probably cost me $5,000-$10,000 of profit. But you live and learn, and you move on, and you go from there. So yes, do not rely on your reps to place your order. Always place them on the website, and then call your rep and just say, hey, I placed this order. Did you see it? Can you confirm? And honestly, you talked about how much time I spend doing this. I probably spend between 15 and 20 hours on a week on the phone with my different reps.
yeah, that's definitely like a good part-time job right there, because
Yeah.
you never like those Chocobo bundles, knowing nothing like in depth about them, but just the fact they're Final Fantasy and their Chocobo bundles, very limited supplementary product, like, yeah, those are more in demand, like especially for Final Fantasy, right? Which has gone insane.
Well, and I was annoyed because we buy everything. Like we even buy the garbage that nobody else wants because we're trying to build allocations. So it's like what are you doing? And then I'm like, God damn it, I can't believe I relied on this dude to place my order instead of doing it myself. So I'm just mad at myself.
No, it makes sense. But like, so from your perspective, and I'm gonna bring this back to Dragon Ball and Fusion World. Like, so that there's 2 different versions. It's Masters and Fusion World. So for both to be successful in this kind of environment, I know Bandai needs to keep doing what it needs to do, but like, how can the game get more face time in front of more? Like, I know the anime's coming back. There's a whole like project. I think Bandai put like 10 million or more behind the like they have like a 10-year plan for Dragon Ball and everything, so it's going to be supported for quite a while from like that perspective. But like, besides those things, like, what is it going to take for the liquidity to increase, the eyes, and more people getting into it?
Look, I think the biggest challenge with Masters is it's just really, really confusing. Um, and it's confusing from the standpoint of I don't know the difference between the two. And if I don't know the difference between the two, it means most people are never going to figure out why are there two Dragon Ball games. And that's the biggest challenge. I mean, look, BT 31 just came out a little bit ago. You know, there's been
Yeah.
288 boxes sold on TCG Player. Now there's only 151 that are for sale, but that is not exactly set the world on fire liquidity. You know, if we go to, I just have TCG Player up here. If we go to Cross Force, right? That's the newest game or the newest set, FB10.
Yep.
You know, Fusion World, there've been 799 boxes, 800 boxes. There's only 100 listed. So the liquidity for Fusion World is 8 times, 7 times more than what it is for Masters. Honestly, I think you either merge the games or you kill one off because it's too confusing.
I respect the perspective. I think a lot of people have expected Masters to be like losing a lot of support and kind of merging, or like just ending Masters. But I think the reason that may not have happened is Bandai likes money, and if they're making money off of Masters still, they're going to keep doing it, right, and supporting the game.
Which is fine. I'm just saying for somebody in this industry that spent a lot of time looking at these two games and Bandai games in general. I mean, if it's confusing to me, it's going to be confusing to anybody else who is never going to spend a fraction of the time that I've spent on it.
Yeah, I think more people are championing Fusion World opposed to Masters. Masters is more of that like big brother kind of just in the background versus like little brother taking the limelight of Fusion World, because it's got more like, for a lot of cards, a little bit more shiny, more recognized, and like there's just more gameplay support and like people creating more content around it, I think, compared to like Masters. And if it does end, that would, personally, I can enjoy both, but yeah, from a business perspective, like it may happen, right? Like that's always been something in the background that a lot of us have talked about.
And look, I don't really root for games to die because profitable games are what makes the business stronger. So yeah, it'd be great if they both survived and they both thrived. Like I said, it's a little confusing, and look, we buy both of them at this point. We're running OP on both of them.
Yeah. The funny thing is, there's like some local scenes of Masters still around here, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, like the player base significantly less than Fusion World. It's kind of interesting, but the top chases have like really exploded. I don't know if you've seen some of those, but they're like $1,500 too, or like $1,000.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
So talk to me about Story Booster 1, because I don't know that much about it other than I ordered a bunch of it, because anytime you see like a specialty set for Bandai,
Yeah,
it's an auto buy.
it is. And Story Booster, so remember I kind of mentioned like, hey, what about Manga Booster, right? So it's kind of like a sequence between, it's a specialty set, first of all. So it's not part of the main FB series. It's a continuation from the manga series, or like a different iteration if that's what they're going to go forward with, kind of like the EB or PRB sets for One Piece. And so they're using a lot of arts from the anime itself, and then for some of the alternate arts, I believe they're using the actual cells used for those shots as the artwork. So it's like, anime cells are being collected a lot right now, especially for Dragon Ball, and they're using that art on the cards. So there's a big hype around that. The alternate arts look insane, and these story booster sets, these manga booster sets, have about half reprint, half new. Obviously, I don't know the full numbers, but like there's a percentage that is new cards and a percentage that's like reprints of cards. So it's really good for players and the artwork and the collectability, because if you know about the manga booster that I asked about, like, they're selling for about $1,600 right now. They were at 2,600, 2,500, but now they've kind of dropped to like 1,600. But insane, like within a year they've gone up like that much, right? But those were special arts from Akira Toriyama himself, the creator of Dragon Ball, and these are now like sketches of the like clips of the anime and sketches. So it's and the alternate arts just go really hard. There's plenty of videos on it. I think it. Let's see if I can pull up some of that. But
No,
yeah, that's what it's all about.
It's fine. I ordered a bunch of boxes, so I'm just curious. Is it a normal print run? Is it going to be a tight print run? Like, is it print to demand like everything else, or is it going to be super tight? I'm just curious.
I would assume it's print to demand, or they're because they want to keep it like non-excessive. Somebody order a lot of stores. It's kind of crazy, but they ordered like maybe 10, 15, 20 cases. So I'm assuming this is going to be printed significantly more, but because I don't have distribution, I don't have contacts with like reps who speak with Bandai or speak with Bandai directly. I don't know what they're going to do, because I think it should be about a normal print run, if not a little bit more, but because of the hype, but I'll default to you for that.
Okay. Huh? Yeah, like I said,
But
I hope I get the boxes I ordered, and I hope they stay at $500. I'll be a happy guy.
yeah, because like to me that makes no, like, it makes no sense that like it went this high so quickly. Like, yeah, I'm trying to find, like, the demand is insane for this set, but like, is it just for resale purposes, or just like people are just going to stash this away and we're never seeing boxes? Because if that's what it's feeling like.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Anything that's coming out at $500 has way more downside risk than upside risk, in my opinion. I don't know.
Like, if it sustains this long, like I think it's actually detrimental to the game, and they would have to reprint, right? Like, this would be the first time they would be reprinting something in a long time.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't see him doing that. I just don't think there's enough people that care to scream like they did for like the heroin set for One Piece. In
That
fact,
was crazy.
Well, they ended up reprinting it, and then they didn't have to because it was sitting at $300 forever because nobody wanted to pay more than $300 for a box.
So, but then what does that say to the demand of Dragon Ball right now? Like, is it? It's definitely not more than One Piece, right? Like, if they put it anywhere close to One Piece, like, Dragon Ball would fail and die.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, there's probably 300,000 boxes of One Piece coming out for each set at this point, or 250,000 boxes, which is a healthy number. I think Gundam alone is like 150,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So One Piece is clearly bigger at this point. Whether they print 50 or 75,000 or 100,000 for Dragon Ball, I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to like Dragon Ball's approaching that kind of like those kind of numbers for those TCGs maybe like 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, but look, again, remember human nature. When prices go up, people want it. When prices go down, people don't want to touch it. So as long as the stuff's hot, people are going to buy it, and it's going to become more and more on fire.
I'm looking forward to it. Give me your top 3 expectations of, actually not even top 3, just like going forward. Like, I know you talk about this on your channel, and again, if everyone, if you haven't subscribed and on, link description below. This dude, invaluable information. Watch his distribution updates if you don't do anything, but every piece of content is pretty good. So
watch the one for a couple weeks ago when I went off on all the PokeTubers bitching about the price of 30th anniversary, because people that own stores have eaten shit for a long time. So why the fuck would you price it at MSRP for a bunch of fucking neckbeards that normally don't go in your store? So it's a fun one. I actually did it as a joke. And then when I'm over, I'm like, oh, that was pretty angry. That's great.
Yeah, you were heated on that one, dude. I was just like, I'm gonna let him cook. I'm gonna let him cook.
No, but the whole thing was a show. Like I planned it, and then I got into a groove. I'm like, oh, this is great being in character. This is fun.
Nice. We should that should be a new persona of Anon.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what's up.
Fuck the broke ass Timmies that want to take all your profit, even though you ate shit for the last 5 years. It's great.
No, I've said it before. Like, you know, a lot of game stores have supported games while they were like literally losing money on it or like breaking even. Like this is their time to make money, and that's a lot. That's what a lot of stores are doing. A lot of the local stores, thankfully, also like, you know, for the local players who supported them, like support them as well. So it's been great to see that kind of that relationship kind of like be like in a balance, somewhat of a balance, right? Like if you're a new player, it might be a little difficult, but like a lot of stores also like yeah, doing that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's also something that you've noticed and done.
No. Look, that's what we do. I mean, we have our regulars, right, that come in the store, and when we have pre-release, we offer it to folks at retail price. If they're a regular, now a lot of times we'll limit the packs, or if we sell ETBs, we're going to open the ETBs because if you're buying them from us, you're buying them because you want to open the packs, etc. So it's like you almost get a discounted price if you want to open the packs and you want to have fun. You know, if you want to take the product out and you want to flip it and sell it on Facebook Market Price, you can fuck off. You know, you're going to pay full retail because that's the way you have to do it.
Yep.
So it gets back to the early conversation when we were talking about, you know, MSRP getting raised by the game producers. Somebody's got to make the money, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, and I think at some point it's just gonna happen, right? And like I think you said with the new wins and waves, you expect them to do it, just
yeah,
because like at this
I
point
think it's
it's
foregone.
just already valuable. Like what's the point?
Yeah, no, I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to do it
Okay.
because there's no reason not to at this point.
Because like this is exactly what happened like earlier on. Yeah, earlier on with like Sword and Shield, right? Like all the box prices went pretty high, especially like starting with Vivid, and then they're like, okay, we can add a little bit of extra change on top of that for Scarlet and Violet, and it just kind of it seems like every so often at like points in time, I guess earlier than and earlier every time increase these prices because there was a significant like lag between the last increase and then this one, and now there's a shorter period.
Yeah, well, and again, remember, when it comes to Pokemon, they're scared shitless about being the bad guy because they only care about the value of the IP. You know, they care about the value of the IP more than they care about making money off selling Pokemon cards.
All right.
All right, let's. Any other questions? I mean, it's 10 after 11 here, so I do have to go to bed at some point. So
Yeah.
let's any
Same
other
here.
questions, then we can wrap it up. And yeah, the dude from GameStop's a fucking clown. So yeah, I mean, if this market goes south, GameStop's just gonna go back to its normal shitty self, where it's sitting on a bunch of Bitcoin that it paid double what the price is, and whatever.
Didn't realize they did that, but man, GameStop was a crazy time. But yeah, if you all have any other questions, last minute questions you want to ask Anon or me, feel free to put in the chat. But Anon, I'll take this opportunity to just say appreciate you coming on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, and yeah, like I hope you're also seeing a bright future for Fusion World at least, or Dragon Ball in general, like with everything that's going on, and um, the and sharing and thanks for sharing your perspective of you know what you're seeing and what you're expecting in the future.
Yeah, look, and it's always easier when a game gives players a reason to come and play organized play, like we talked about with the promos.
Yep.
So again, when we started going down the organized play path with Dragon Ball, I didn't realize that they gave a bunch of promos that had money because we were so used to, you know, Pokemon, you get a couple packs if you win. Magic, they just even stopped giving out promos because they're like, fuck the players, we don't give a shit. You know, just give us your money and fuck off. So it was actually a really, really nice, pleasant surprise when it's like, oh yeah, we have cards that are worth money because it's cool. You know, the folks win it, they leave, and you know they can do whatever they want with the cards. But guess what? Guess what they are doing? They're coming back for the next event because they're going to try to win it again, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, anime coming back is going to push eyes on it 100%. I mean, that's really what kicked everything off. Because when you have a game that's kind of stagnant, you need a reason for eyes back on it, and the anime coming back put a ton of eyes on it. I think it was more investors, speculators pushing dollars into it, and then again, it's human nature when the prices of shit goes up, everybody wants it.
Yeah, that's I'm in line with that. Like there was no support for like or like no eyes on Dragon Ball for like the longest time, and then now there's so much more eyes on it. And these early speculators, investors who are coming in and buying everything high end, might be eaten if things progress they with the way they do with the anime. Just the crazy demand fall off from like Pokemon into like other spaces. I think that diversification has become like very, I guess, like it's increased in frequency at this point. Because like a lot of people were just either into one TCG, but now like a lot more expansion is happening, and I think with that additional demand in other TCGs and some of that trickling down into the Dragon Ball space, like this is what a little demand does. If there's even more demand, what could potentially happen?
No, no, exactly. And I'm actually a little upset I did this with you because now that we have the next couple sets coming in, I'm like, maybe I'll just park a couple cases instead of selling them and moving on, which is what my business actually is.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. But if you got to realize too, right? Like just getting cases and boxes is really difficult right now. Like it's crazy without like paying an arm and a leg.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, exactly. Exactly. I didn't realize how difficult, and quite honestly, I didn't even think about it until we're talking here, how difficult it must be to find an LGS A that has product in stock, B that even carries the game at this point. So, really online is kind of your only option. And, I mean, you guys have seen our sales for this, it's a couple cases worth. So it's not like we're printing hundreds of boxes on it. So
Yeah,
and
no, and that's exactly what I'm saying. And even like me going to different places, there's absolutely no Dragon Ball. Like it is
right,
insane, and it's getting ripped. It's getting put away. Like it is insane. Like the difficulty just to get a few packs.
right.
That's why I started my lives.
Yeah, which is good, which is good. Yeah, one of the guys in chat made an interesting comment. So, for those of you who haven't seen, Sony basically announced in 2027, I think, or 2028, they're going to stop making physical video games, which is stupid because it didn't work. I mean, Xbox almost blew themselves up with what was the Xbox One when they came out. They said we were going to be all digital, and the entire world basically
Yeah.
said "fuck you." I think they're going to do the same with Sony. The problem is a bunch of finance nerds in a room looking at the math and saying, "Well, this math is way too good to even give a shit," right? But as all of these scumbag companies go more digital, TCGs are like a safe space because you have the physical cards. Now you have the risk of people stealing those physical cards, but you have something where you can throw in a safe and you can sit on and you can look at them and you can physically hand them to somebody and get physical cash back. Where a lot of the shit you can't now. The whole video game thing is just it's annoying because I have a huge collection of like old Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PlayStation games, and I have all the RPGs, which are cool. But I mean, I don't want to buy a game and download it. Fuck that. Um, you know, I think it was Sony came out recently and they just cut like 5,000 movies or something like that off the platform that people had licenses to or whatever bullshit that they were spinning, and now they're gone.
Yeah.
So digital media is fucking insane because you don't own anything.
Yeah, it's the
You're
world
paying.
of you will own nothing and like it.
Yeah, yeah. So fuck Sony.
Yeah,
That is
I disagree with that. Like having the physical game, and yeah, I agree. Like there's more demand than ever for physical items because the more digital we get, we as humans are like more interactive and like social creatures. Like yes, we can do that online, but like we need physical touch to play a game, to go outside, touch grass, like breathe some fresh air, like not just be in the digital world.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. One other thing I do want to mention because nobody really talks about this, but Fanatics is working on a TCG as well. Now, I don't know what the TCG is, but they're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at developing it, or tens of millions of dollars at least.
Oh wow.
So it's gonna be interesting, My guess is it might be a Marvel game. Because they do have connections with Disney. They obviously do all the Disney top stuff. But it's worth keeping an eye on because we'll probably start to get spoilers the end of the year. I think they were aiming for a 2027 release. Now, I think there's a 100% chance they fuck up a TCG, but the first set of everything always holds value. So it's probably worth paying attention to there. And also Magic the Gathering, 2027 is the 35th anniversary. So
About to
I'd
pop
pay
off.
attention to that. I'd pay
As long as
attention to that.
yeah, Magic 30th was a disaster. Hopefully, they learned and will never pull that kind of shit again.
Now, look, their products continue to get better and better. And remember, like Turtles and Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man was a 4 set. They initially had Lorwyn in that spot, and then they flipped it out because they needed a bigger revenue hit for the quarter. Um, yeah, no faith at all in Fanatics. But Turtles, they had that set planned 3 years in advance, so they've been able to pivot a little bit on some of this stuff. So I don't see really any bad sets.
Yeah.
So hopefully in Q4 of next year we get a World of Warcraft set. That'll be interesting.
That would be hilarious. I am interested to see in Fanatics. I think you mentioned that you thought it was Naruto, but like Bandai took that.
So I heard rumblings months ago, and if it was actually December. One of the guys in Discord, Neo CNC, he has his own channel. He talks a lot of sports. He actually did a video on it where Fanatics was actually had a bunch of job postings for TCG folks, which is super super interesting. I initially thought it may have been Naruto because there is a European game. I just got it in from Europe and I sold it on Discord. It actually sold pretty bad. I think I don't think I sold half of it, and I only had like 72 boxes. It's called Naruto Mythos.
Yep.
It was a European exclusive because they did not have the license in the US. And I didn't know why, other than, obviously a bigger player had it. I thought it was maybe Fanatics, and then Bandai came out with their announcement that they have it. So that was the reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, but it has to be a big IP. I mean, they can't be building an IP from scratch. They're not that stupid. So I'm guessing it's probably something Marvel.
And that's that could be a reason why they couldn't do serialized cards, because they might do serialized cards.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be for sure.
Appreciate you sharing that knowledge, because like I had no idea about these, so I'm interested to see what's going on. Personally, I'm gonna be diving hard into Naruto as well, because I just love that anime, and I want to play the game and see what it's like.
Well, I still have the Naruto Mythos boxes up, and they do have 22 karat gold chase cards in them. I'm actually I should get a box tomorrow, and I'll do an opening on the channel just to see what they look like. I'm super interested. Because again, it's the game is made by an Italian company,
Yeah.
and I have no idea if it's going to be garbage or if it's going to be good. Because when it comes from Italy, it's a coin flip.
Well, I'll definitely be down to see the cards, because I watched the K-pop Demon Hunters, and I even opened a few blisters. I personally like the cards. They feel really good.
No, they do. The only thing I didn't like the charm card in there because it was kind of wonky, but what Kaio's trying to do is that they're trying to build a brand between cards and then like things that girls hang on their purses and keychains, which I get. Yeah, it's just it's not for an old dude like me.
No, I was opening for my niece, and she pulled like the what is it, the forgot his name, the main dude, a little keychain of that.
I don't know the characters.
I should. I've watched it a lot.
Hey, My Little Pony TCG is selling like crazy.
It is, which is weird, but cool.
I set 2 comes out in a couple weeks. It comes out in a couple weeks, and Pretty Derby. Don't forget, you have a second Weiss set coming out at the end of the year, and you also have Union Arena. I ordered a bunch of Union Arena because that's apparently Horse Girls is a big fucking IP. Again, I got back to the anime comment I started with. Dragon Ball Z is the last one that I've watched, and the only one that I didn't watch for 5 minutes and say, "What the fuck is this garbage?"
Yeah, no, respect. You ended on a great one.
There's a lot of people that like Chainsaw Man. I tried to watch an episode on YouTube and I'm like, this is the dumbest fucking idea ever. Like, was this dude like stoned and on mushrooms at the same time when they came up with this idea? It was fucking bizarre. Yeah, the dude has a chainsaw on his fucking head. It's weird. But anyway,
Never seen it, well aware of it, but yeah. I've just been rewatching my old animes.
So there you go. All right, man. I gotta crash.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Let's do it again soon. Do me a favor, just send me the video link upload when you get a chance. I'll throw it in my channel and tomorrow morning at some point, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man. Thanks so much for coming on, and thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, check out Anon. Have a great rest of your night or day.
Yes. Good night.
Take it easy.